Come on, 2, 3.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. And our top story today, we'll take a look at trading behavior for Swedish retirement investors during COVID-19. And joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Thomas Post is a behavioral scientist with Maastricht University. Thomas, great to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Hi, Jeffrey. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
It is a pleasure. It's my pleasure. It's our pleasure. This is great information. And by way of intro, yesterday's program, we focused on data around charitable giving here in the U.S. during the pandemic. This is a perfect follow-up because similar to that data, very surprising results related to pandemic behavior of the Swedish pension system, the retirement system. So why don't you start off? Why don't you tell us some quick facts about what you and your colleagues found in this paper?
Yeah, what we look at is the trading behavior of Swedish retirement investors. And the way this works is every Swedish employee has to put part of his salary into a pay-as-you-go scheme and another part into the premium pension. And that is something we look at, the premium pension, that's a funded scheme. Investors can select amongst roughly 500 funds. If they make a choice, if they don't make a choice, they get the default fund.
And the default fund, I think, is it like a target date fund, what we would call here in the States a target date fund?
It is a target date fund, and it's considered to be a very risky fund. So it's a leveraged fund. It tracks an index, but with leverage. So it moves up and down more than the market, especially for young investors.
So let's turn back time a little bit. Let's go back to March 2020, quarantining around the globe, people maybe not working, having some financial difficulties. We all face that, reduced hours, losing work. How did investors who could select whether or not they were keeping investments, how did they perform? What did they typically do in the plans?
Now, what we typically observe for retail investors is that they panic, so that they would start trading a lot, moving out of certain stocks and assets into more safe assets. That's what we observed in earlier periods. And now when we looked at the data from the Swedish retirement investors, and I think we talk about roughly 8 million people that are a part of the plan,
wow.
Almost nothing happened. So we saw initially that some moved out of equities into seemingly safe investments like bonds. But when we looked at the numbers, the fraction of investors that traded, it's almost nothing. So we observe that 2% of these investors did something at all, while in normal periods is 1%. So economically, we would say nothing happened with them.
Yeah, so let's talk about the difference between a pension investor or someone in this retirement plan where they make a decision versus a retail investor. Retail investors typically panic. Not the case over here or over there, wherever, over there where you are, or close to where you are in Sweden. People didn't panic at all. So is there a way to attribute that to a particular exercise? Is it more education? Is it inertia? Is it a combination of that and other factors?
Now, we do know from different studies that the average Swede has a higher financial literacy than compared to other countries. That's something that we know. But based on the analysis we run, we tend to believe that it's rather the system design, the choice architecture in the system that makes these investors highly inert. So the system gives a lot of incentives. Let's put it like this way. Let's explain the system a little more. Now, if I give you the choice out of 800 funds, that was 2 years ago, now it's 500 funds, what do? Do you do your math and study and compare 500 funds? Probably most do not. And Nobel Prize laureate Dick Thaler actually when talking about the system, he would say nudges that work forever and nudges that make you do nothing. You stay with the default because the system creates so many choices that people feel choice complexity, choice overload, and the natural reaction to that is do nothing. And that is what we believe is going on with these investors. They are educated, they are led to behave very inert. When then such a crisis comes, they just follow the path of least resistance and continue what they did doing beforehand. They do nothing. That's what we think, that the choice architecture of the system makes people lazy. We can argue about whether it's a good thing or not. But in this particular period, we think that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, so let's pick up on this. I got one more question for you. Then we'll go to a commercial break and pick up the conversation. But you talk about the inertia and the choice architecture, and you're a behavioral scientist. I mean, we have talked to others, and look, I've been in the industry for a long time. This is a big topic, getting that framework, narrowing that framework down. But it actually seems like having more choices here benefited people because the behavior of having that, like you're like an ostrich putting your head in the sand and saying, look, I can't go through 500 funds. I don't know what's better. They all look the same to me. I can look at the returns. And by the way, every fund is not doing well. That actually works to the advantage of the retirement plan and to the investor. Do you think that maybe reverses some of the psychological benefits that we had seen from narrowing down investments in a plan?
Now, that probably depends how much you narrow it down. So the
Sure.
number of funds in that particular Swedish system has been narrowed down from 800 to 500. I think the most recent number is something 420, which is still way too much to have a clear idea what to do in a particular situation. I can imagine if you make it very simple, 3 funds, 3 options that differ dramatically, that you might take the time to look into these options and maybe based on that do something. But the way the system is right now, this is far from happening.
Yeah. Thomas, as I said, I need to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk more about investor behavior in the Swedish retirement system during COVID. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking this morning to Thomas Post of Maastricht University. Thomas, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
No, great for being back.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And there's a lot to unpack here. And I guess one of the things that you mentioned in the first segment is the Swedish financial literacy. And I'm not sure if you're aware, here in the United States, it is Financial Literacy Month. I have to say that it's always Financial Literacy Month on the Broadcast Retirement Network. But be that as it may, there's a clear focus on financial literacy. So I'm wondering if you might be able to, you mentioned Swedes have some of the highest financial literacy in this program. How do you account for that? Is it a lot more education being done by the government and employers? What leads you to that conclusion?
That's a very good question, Jeffrey, that bothers me already for a long time. Two pieces of evidence. What we do know that many of the literacy programs are not very successful in the long run. So you put people in training for an hour, for a day, and you measure their literacy a year later and they didn't improve. That's one part of the story. The other part of the story, I work at the university. I'm an educator, right? What if not giving more literacy to my student is my role here? So it's a big question. Why do some people have higher literacy than others? And what can we do structurally to improve that? So some commentators say it has to start very early on. So at school, for example, if you miss those points in time, then you miss the window of opportunity. It is an unresolved issue how to do it best. But there are solutions to that. So in the sense, what we do know what works pretty well is on-time financial education. So if I have a particular problem, I'm on a website of a pension fund or a financial service provider. And I have to make a choice. And right at the moment, I have a tool, I have a video or something that explains in simple language what are the right things to do, what are the options, what should I do. This seems to work not too bad.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you have to create content regularly in a way that people can digest it. So some people may watch videos, some people may listen to audio, some people may want to read, some may want a combination of that. You may find it interesting, Thomas, that here in the States, only 24 states, we have 50 states in this country, some territories, only 24 of the 50 states offer financial literacy as a requirement to graduate high school, to go on to college. I find that unbelievable in this day and age. But you mentioned you're in the Netherlands, but you looked at the Swedish system. It really is a comprehensive effort, education, government, schooling, university, to, I think, reaffirm that education over time. You can't just do one and done. All right, well, here's a bank account. You learn about bank account in 5th grade and you're done, right? It is continuous education over and over again.
It is continuous education, and I can talk about the Netherlands, for example. I have a child that goes to school, to high school now, and I'm very happy to see that early on that they have economics as a subject. So they learn stuff much earlier than I used to learn at school. And I'm very happy to see that. And I hope that this, in the long run, gives these young folks a better start into making important decisions. It's about buying a home, getting the right mortgage, and these things, big decisions with big consequences where you need some basic literacy.
Yeah, and you know, paying for college, I mean, important being that you work at a university. I mean, that is important, making sure that we get people into the college system, that they understand when they're taking, for example, a student loan, they understand that the student loan may need to be paid off in a period of time, right? That it's kind of weighing that against your earnings. You know, Thomas, I guess last question, life's a learned experience. We all learn as we go. So it is hard sometimes to take what I know at my age and my experience, or what you know at your age and experience, and give that to somebody else. But it actually is the responsibility, in my opinion, get your position on this, for generations, older generations, to pass down knowledge to previous generations. So something like financial literacy, budgeting, the importance of going to the doctor as an example, going to college, we should be passing that along to our children and our children's children.
I completely agree, Jeffrey. That's also one of the reasons that motivates me several times a year to go to high schools and do a workshop of an hour or 2 hours with these pupils over there to early on pass on knowledge or also make them interested in what we do here in business and economics studies, that they get started with understanding this is not just dry stuff they have to do for their teacher, but this is really important stuff for making a successful career and also getting their family finances in good shape.
Yeah, and also parents. It's got to be reaffirmed. You can do a great job, but parents have to reaffirm that as well. And grandparents, family has to do that as well. Well, Thomas, very interesting story. Great news in terms of the Swedish system, and great conversation about financial literacy in Sweden and in the Netherlands. Great to see you. Thanks so much for sharing your perspective, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for being again on the program. Always a pleasure.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, somebody you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news in lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to see our latest content? Search our archives, check out our website and our streaming partners like Amazon, Roku, Samsung, over 100 more. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Are you being audited? And do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.